Hello, and welcome to The Modern Romantic, where we celebrate romanticism through many creative outlets and passionate people doing amazing things. I am your host tonight, Emily, and I'm here tonight with a couple of bookstore owners that are from Fayetteville, Arkansas. We've got Leah and Daniel from Pearl's Books. Thank you for
Hello.
joining us. Hi.
Hi. Thank you for having us. Yeah, this is great.
Mhm.
We're excited.
That is exciting. I've been wanting to feature a independently owned bookstore for a long time because those are my favorite, and I really love what you're doing. And but you're in Fayetteville, right? I got that right.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Have
Yeah.
you lived in Fayetteville for a long time, or?
We've been here over a decade now, but I grew up in Bentonville, which is about 30 miles north,
Okay.
and then Daniel's lived in Arkansas most of his life.
Okay.
So yeah, so we're Arkansas natives.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, Fayetteville's home for us.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
we moved back here after college and quickly made roots. And we have family close. So, yeah, it's great.
And your store has something that is really hard to achieve that I noticed right away, but I am super impressed by this, and that is on Google, you have 4.9 stars in Google reviews. That is
Yeah.
so good.
Thanks.
Congratulations. That is so amazing.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. We've had a couple of trolls, but other than that, I
Yeah.
mean, it's been pretty positive. So hopefully that will keep going with the positive reviews.
It is
Yeah.
so nice and so, fun to get like a notification that we got a 5-star review and we get to go read it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Mhm.
And you haven't been open very long either, though. You've
No,
just over a year.
Yeah, September of 2021 is when we opened our doors, and yeah,
Daniel says September. I say October.
yeah. Well,
but in that, there's a couple weeks there.
tomato.
Yeah. So 2021, and I mean, it's been definitely a learning curve, but we're figuring it out, and it's been very fun. And yeah,
it took off quickly.
It did.
Like one thing that I always talk about is events. Like we started doing events like right away, and that was not something that we expected. We thought maybe we'd ease into that kind of thing and learn a little bit more about how our business is going to run, and then we can start doing events. But people just started reaching out. And
we don't know how to say no.
Yeah.
So I think that was part of it.
Yeah. Which I think has been a good thing for us, too. I think we've grown a lot as a store because we say yes a lot. And so our reach has grown because of that. Yeah.
And I think it's helped us define just a lot about our what is it when your like mantra, but your just core beliefs is that we really want to be a store for our community. And so I think just kind of by default, since we are really having a lot of events for local authors and just with local community organizations, that has helped us define more and more that we want to be a store that focuses on just serving and providing for the community.
Yeah.
And so, kind of fell into it, but it's worked out.
Well, and that's the cool thing about an independent bookstore is you kind of create community by just existing. And that's something that I see from like you posted a photo not too long ago on your Facebook where it shows like couches and chairs around, I think it was the Silent Book Club, maybe?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I thought, what a great setup for kind of, what's the word, nurturing the idea of creating community by having a setup like that in your store.
Yeah. That that Silent Book Club is a perfect example of us saying yes, like without really knowing what we were saying yes to. That's actually hosted at a graduate hotel which is like a small kind of boutique hotel chain that has a location like just around the corner from our store. And they host silent book clubs and like on a national scale at their hotels. And they asked if we wanted to like co-sponsor or just kind of like be there, help cross promote it. And we said, yeah, sure. And so we go and basically introduce ourselves, give out bookmarks, make sure, you know, people know about us. And then that's it. And we post about it and people love it. Like,
an introvert's dream.
Yeah. Yeah. And those are some of our like posts on social media with the most engagement are the silent book club posts, which is really cool. I mean, it's not like a direct benefit. Like, you know, we don't make any money from going, but it's great exposure for us and it's great
to get to know our customers. I mean, a lot of people who do shop with us regularly are there. And so that's one of the most fun parts about, I think, our job is getting to know customers and getting to know, I mean, they feel like friends and they become friends. So it's a lot of fun.
I love that connection. So just so that I understand, I can guess, and I'm probably right, but tell me about what a silent book club is.
Yeah. So you don't have a common book that anyone reads. You just come get together and you read your book and you sit alongside other people. And I mean, you can talk if you want to. But it's not, there's no agenda. It's just getting together and reading. Yeah.
Show up and read.
Yeah. Which sounds like a lot of fun.
I mean, for those of us who maybe kind of like the idea of no pressure to interact. Or to talk about what I'm reading or sound coherent at all.
Exactly. Yes.
Low stakes.
You don't have to sound smart.
Right.
You're reading your own thing. They're reading their own thing.
No one has to know.
Yeah.
If I'm not on the chapter I wish I was or I should be, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure. Cool. So Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I just thought Archer said, that's a book club I could participate in. And I think that is a mentality for a lot of people who do attend, is they would never do a book club under different circumstances. But a lot of people, and people will go just by themselves or they'll go in groups with the understanding that they're not necessarily going to talk much or have a lot of interaction. So it's a little bit of something for everyone. It does seem to have that drive.
The no pressure book club for sure.
Yeah.
No, you talked about when you opened, but the idea started earlier than that, I imagine, because you can't just you can't just whatever that Harry Potter spell is to make something appear. Expecto bookstore.
Oh, yes, right. If only.
Right. So tell me about that origin story.
Yeah. Well, we had always talked about owning a bookstore and maybe like when we retire someday or this far off future thing that may or may not ever happen, but wouldn't it be cool if we owned a bookstore? And Leah's the dreamer in our relationship, and so she was the one who like really was pushing it and really interested in it, and I was kind of like more practical, like I don't think we can actually do this. It's a huge change for us. I don't do change very well. And then the pandemic happened. We were at home with our kids. Everything about our jobs kind of changed. We were both in academic advising at the time for the university in town, University of Arkansas. And I think kind of the way that we viewed our careers shifted a little bit. And that was, I think, just enough of a jolt to be like, maybe we could change everything about our lives. this crazy thing just
yeah.
happened that changed everything about our lives. Why don't we do something and change everything about our lives?
Relatable. Yes.
And so that was like really December and January. Well, January of 2021.
Yeah.
Is when we said like, yeah,
Yeah.
let's look
Let's
into
really
it.
think
Let's
about
try
this
it.
and look into it. And so for the American Booksellers Association has a lot of great resources for people who are interested in opening a bookstore and an independent bookstore. And then I guess we just got involved with their different Facebook groups. I mean, the book selling community is, I think, very unique in that it's super supportive. And even amongst they're 5, 6, 7, I don't even know how many independent bookstores there are in Northwest Arkansas where we live now, but it doesn't really feel like there's competition amongst us, or maybe I'm just naive and don't realize it, but it seems like a very supportive community. And so that was sort of where we started, was looking into, of course, the logistics. And I mean, there are a million things that you have to figure out to start a business anyway. But we were very fortunate in that the business that we were wanting to go into had a lot of support. And there was literally a binder that we were able to order from one like independent. They basically help start up bookstores. So we were just able to order a binder to kind of get some basics, plan some, just plan some of the basics for what we were looking to do. So that was all between, I guess, January 2021, and we signed our lease for the space that we're in on April 1st. Is that right? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it was a really short amount of time where we just fully committed.
Yeah.
I was in grad school at the time. Like I was going to go back to be a mental health counselor and I just decided to quit my program. And, we had a baby. We have 2 kids. And so the little one was not 6 months old.
That's a lot.
And it was a lot. I mean, it was, yes, it was a lot. Don't get me wrong. Like I still kind of don't know what we were thinking, but here we are, and it's working out so far. So
yeah, it was the kind of thing where we were like, okay, let's look into it, and then we were looking into it, and then it was like, oh, we're doing it now. Okay,
yeah.
Like we looked at each other one day and we're like, okay, I guess this is it.
Mm-hmm. It's amazing how that can switch without you realizing.
Yeah,
that's cool though.
Well, it was, and I think it was because of the pandemic. I mean, you mentioned earlier, Emily, there's a lot of bad, obviously, that has come from the pandemic, but that was, it made things topsy-turvy enough for us to be able to really evaluate our perspective and know that it would, like, our values changed. Mm-hmm. As a result of the pandemic. And I think that a lot of people have had that experience. But we just didn't want to keep our noses to the grindstone like we were. And we each worked in like a good working environment. But it was still, it didn't quite feel right, and I think that we had enough of that value shift to be able to really commit hard. So
yeah, well, it became a chance to kind of realize a dream. This is a chance to do something you would maybe normally not do because the whole world had flipped upside down to some degree. Yeah. And so why not be able to be successful?
Yeah. I think that the why not was a really big motivator for both of us. We're like, well, what else have we got to lose?
Right.
We thought, and I know another thing for me that gave me comfort was we're young. Like, if this doesn't work, then we can go back to work. Like,
right.
If we need to do that, then we can do that. And So
another thing that was a factor was in February of 2020, February 2020, there was an independent bookstore in Fayetteville, our town, that closed due to personal reasons of the previous owner. And so that was something that we, like, there was an opening, there was an area of need in our community. Mm-hmm. And we loved that bookstore, and it was a place that we frequented, and it was such a heart of our town. Mm-hmm. And so I think we wouldn't have necessarily considered doing this as much too if we had, if that need was fulfilled.
Right.
So, and now, so it's been good.
You said something there that was, I think, really interesting. And you said you saw that other bookstore as something that was the heart of your town, or at least part of the heart of your town. And I think, how cool is it that now you kind of have that torch?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's something that we kind of, that was like when we opened the store, like a top tier goal, in several years, like we'd love to be like a big part of the community in Fayetteville. And we were just talking earlier today that it already kind of feels like we are getting there, which is so surprising. And so we're so grateful and happy about that. And I think that's part of being an independent bookstore too. Like it kind of is more natural for that to be the case, as opposed to, like, I don't know. I'm not going to dog on any other retail. So I started to name another retail business. I was like, I don't know. But independent books bring people together in a unique way. And so, I think just
and we have something that I think about is people ask us, how long have you been open? And they'll say something like, it's been 2 years, right? 2 or 3 years. And we're like, no, it's just been a year. And I think that's one of the highest compliments that we can receive, and does make me feel like we are becoming, a big part of the community, because people forget how long we've been here and that it isn't that long. And so it's just affirming, really, at the end of the day.
And that you belong, for sure, because that's, you're obviously like a staple in their mind.
Yeah. It's so weird, but awesome.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's
best case scenario, I think.
Yeah.
Very cool. You have a statement on your website that it kind of made me want to stand up and go, yes. And that is at the very beginning. Their website, by the way, is pearlsbooks.com. It's really easy. Pearls is spelled exactly how you think it is. Pearls. And that is, we believe that reading makes us better. And can I read the rest? Do you mind?
Yeah.
Okay. You might have it memorized. I don't know.
No.
Reading helps us understand more about ourselves and the experiences of others. It helps us escape, empathize, explore, and grow. Through reading, we learn to be our best selves, create our best lives, and better care for those around us, regardless of circumstance, and that certainly seems worthwhile. And I love that so much. I think it's spot on. And it's interesting because we've featured a few storytellers in past episodes, and they say the same thing about storytelling, because it's reading and is consuming like what a storyteller would, produce. It's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
I love storytelling too. I would love to do a storytelling workshop.
Yeah.
This is an aside, but I just think that the power of story is really important, and something that it's easy to get away from when we have our phones telling the stories for us so often,
Right.
Yeah.
So you came up with that for your website, though, because you believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. And I mean, God, it sounds really good.
It is really good.
That's good, Leah.
Yeah. Really.
um, yeah, but I mean, I know that, you know, I would not be who I am today if I wasn't reading books to learn more about the way other people see the world. And like another thing that's really important to us is that we're not book snobs at all. Like there's people who read all different kinds of books, and there's no better or worse. Like I think any type of genre that you want to read, if you're diving in and if you're reading, there's a lot that you can gain from that. Um, and so you know, sometimes it's easy to slip into like some snobbery when you're owning a bookstore, or when you're thinking about books all day, and you know, like that some books are better than others, or some authors are not worth reading, and I just don't think that's true. And yeah, I don't ever want to get to that point where we feel like I don't know, like some books aren't worth reading, because it's always helpful to read. You know, when you read a book, you're jumping into someone else's perspective and jumping into their brain for a little bit, and there's a lot of value in that, no matter what the book is.
Well, and I think going back to the pandemic too, there was so much need for escape, and still is.
Yeah.
And just being able to get away for a little bit from the current reality is helpful. And then also being able to understand the current reality better whenever you are up for it. I mean, that's important as well. I mean, so reading, it just covers all facets of life, and it really just helps us to, again, understand. So
yeah.
As Sandra said, you do have a very eclectic selection in your store, and I just love browsing all the shelves.
Oh, thanks.
Thanks, Sandra.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The selection of books is an ongoing challenge of figuring out what to carry and what not to carry. And, you know, we only have so much space, so we can't have it all, but I wish we could.
Yeah.
So at the beginning, when we first opened and people would ask, like, hey, do you have this book? I would feel really bad saying no, like, no, we don't have it. But then I had to just tell myself, like, it's impossible. Like, we're not going to be able to have every book. And we are learning more what our customers like and what they want to see. And so anytime someone asks that and we don't have it, I make a mental note of like, oh, okay, like, you know, maybe we should have more of this type of author or whatever. But yeah, it's people, that's a common question that we get from customers is how do you choose what to have in here? And I always say, like, that's a great question. Like, if you have any advice, please let me know. Like,
right, because you're new to it too still.
Yeah.
So if someone says, hey, I'm looking for a certain book, and you don't carry it, can you order it?
Yeah. And we do that a lot. We have a really robust special order system, and we have a bookshelf behind the counter full of special orders for people to pick up. So yeah, we're always ordering books.
Awesome.
Especially for folks, yeah.
And for people too that are listening, bookshop.org is essentially, it's like a third-party seller that gives a portion of its profits to independent bookstores. So awesome. You can order online, and you can find, I mean, of course you can shop with us, but then there are, like, you can search for an independent bookstore in your area.
Yeah, there's like a map feature where you can look for stores near you, which is also great. Like, you know, if you're new to an area and you don't know where your local independent bookstore is, or, you know, want to find a new place to shop. Yeah. But
yeah. Or if there's not an independent bookstore near you and you don't feel like jumping on the bandwagon of owning your own, you can go to bookstore.org and order your books through there, so that the independent bookstores in the country do get some of that benefit.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yep.
yes, for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and that's been fun too. Of like our friends and family that don't live here, that shop on bookshop.org and support us. It's really sweet because we don't ship out of our store. That's something that we decided
We didn't have the
when we
capacity
opened
for it.
was that we don't. It's a whole other ballgame to manage online ordering and shipping from the store. So we wanted to get a handle on in-store operations first, and still maybe eventually we might ship, but we also don't have a ton of room. We're in our office now, and it's usually pretty cramped with boxes and
Yeah, you need like a whole.
It's trash. Yeah, let's be honest.
Right. Yeah, I'm currently. This is a side note. Emily, cut this out later. I'm working with a retail store right now as a consultant, and I'm they're growing their e-commerce business right now, and I'm working with them on how to do that a little bit, and that's an interesting kind of bear to take on, because you could go all in on that and then nobody orders, and then now what? And that's something that's kind of a risk for them too that I'm noticing. And so any retail store that decides to go to the effort of putting their catalog online or to do something like that and then you need the support to fill the orders and boxes and packaging and things like that. So it's a lot to consider beyond just you can order online now.
Yeah, right.
So we'd have to have a whole other space. And Sandra, you said that makes your store personal, having people visit. Though shipping would be convenient, it takes away that personal touch. And I agree. Like it doesn't really seem like there's a demand for it. I think our store is beautiful, and part of the fun is visiting. Mm-hmm. And so I just don't think that it would be worth it. And a good example of that, I think, is when we first opened, we intended to have a little cafe. And we have just pretty quickly realized that wasn't something we wanted to put the energy into. And so we don't. I mean, we have book clubs and we have beer and wine and snacks for book clubs and coffee. But then other than that, we don't really do anything. And that's worked out just fine. And so just kind of being willing to pivot, figure out where to best spend what is very precious energy, I think has been helpful for us too.
Well, and I think people would come to you for the experience. I mean, that's part of it. One of my favorite memories of an independent bookstore is there's a place in downtown Naperville, Illinois called Anderson's, and it is growing up it was my favorite independent bookstore, and it's actually down the street from a Barnes and Noble.
Cool.
And I mean, talk about a challenge, but Anderson's could not be beat for the experience. You could walk in there and there was always something going on. There was an author in there signing books or meeting people. They had merchandise. They had they would have had Frog and Toad. We talked about that earlier.
Yeah.
But they would have had cool stuff like that where they had a whole selection of hand puppets that were characters from books, and I thought, this is amazing. You can't just find that in Barnes and Noble. And they had a little music section that they would play music in the store, and then you could buy it if you liked it. And I really enjoyed that experience. And the one, it was the only place I could ever go to find a hard copy at the time. Probably not now. But at the time, it was the only place I could find a hard copy of The Princess Bride.
Oh, I have not ever seen a hard copy, actually.
Okay, well, it's not the one based on the movie. It's the one actually written by William Goldman. Some of the words are actually printed in red.
That's cool.
Yeah, because of how it's narrated. And so, but I was on the hunt. I knew it existed. But I didn't know how to get my hands on it, and they were able to help me get it. And Barnes & Noble wouldn't touch me. They were like, nah.
Yes.
And I loved that. I would have paid whatever for that book. and
Yeah.
they were able to get it for me.
Yeah.
Oh,
So.
that's awesome. I love hearing stories like that.
Yeah. The extra step.
Yeah.
Effort. I mean, that just means the world.
Yeah. And those are my favorite favorite situations where I can help, where I'm talking on the phone with a customer and just like trying to figure out where we can get this book or if we can find a copy of it, and hearing stories about who they're buying it for or why it's important to them. And yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, because books change lives, and
Right.
when a book changes your life, you want to share it usually.
Yeah,
So
right.
I get that.
Yeah.
Sandra asked, what are some of the most unique titles and authors that you've carried?
That's a good question. One of my favorites that we carry is a book called How to Resist Amazon and Why. It's a little, like, small little book. It's written by Danny Kane. He's the owner of Raven Books in Lawrence, Kansas. And he is a very active bookstore owner and lobbyist kind of for independent bookstores against Amazon. And he kind of breaks down some of the things that Amazon does that just aren't cool.
Okay.
There's plenty of things just off the top of your head that you can probably think of, but he breaks down why and how they got to that point, but also it's not like a finger pointing, like you can't shop at Amazon, you're a bad person if you do. He's kind of thinking more big picture policy and how we can help let our our lawmakers know what what, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but like, if
we can communicate what needs to change.
Yeah, right. So that's one of my favorites, and it's small enough that you can fit it on the table pretty much any time on our display table. If there's a little bit of space, I'm like, oh, let's put that one there. That's one of my favorites.
I think as far as unique goes, we that's something we're still learning. We try to keep, I'd be interested to know what our breakdown is, but we have a pretty consistent sort of core set of books that we generally keep numerous copies of in stock. And then the rest kind of rotate through, and they change based on things like book talk, if you're familiar with TikTok and like the trends of what books are on book talk. So those are going to be the more popular options. But then as far as unique goes, we get a lot of those recommendations from customers who special order something in particular, and then they we see something that we've never heard of. So for example, the Princess Bride, and then we might decide, oh well, we want to have one of those in stock as well. So I'm trying to think of what an example is, but there's a really beautiful is it Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, illustrated Lord of the Rings.
Oh yeah.
It's just beautiful, and it's one that we keep in stock regularly, but it's got the red letter, the gold binding, all of that as well. And so it's
all the bells and whistles. Maps. Yeah.
That's definitely up my alley.
Yeah.
So, and that is really cool too. Another one is, I could even go grab it, but a set of children's books that have.
Oh yeah, the Story Orchestra.
The Story Orchestra, and they have buttons where you can listen to different pieces of music written by different composers, and there's a story that goes along with them. Those were recommended to us by a customer. So, I mean, really, some of our best and most unique do come from customers, which is really cool.
That is cool. Yeah.
And local authors, like some of our best-selling books since we've opened have been local folks. Like there's a graphic history, it's graphic nonfiction history of the Crescent Hotel which is a haunted hotel in Eureka Springs, which is like an hour and a half away from here. And that's a beautifully illustrated, very well researched book. Sean Fitzgibbon, Sandra pointed out. Yes, and Sean's just such a great guy too. He's so fun to work with. There's a book called The Square Book that is.
It was published like
2016, 2017. It's an illustrated history of the Fayetteville Square, and it's pretty like straightforward. It's written by a couple of local guys, and they're also great people. And J.B. Hogan and Anthony Wapple. And that took off for us last Christmas. And they
were so excited.
Well. Yeah.
I mean, it was so cool.
Yeah.
For them too, because this is a book they wrote several years ago, and now it's getting a second wind, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
So out of curiosity, because I don't understand how this works, if I was, let's say, in your area and sorry, I was trying to think of the way to formulate this the best way. If I was in your area and I'm an independent author, let's say I don't actually have a publisher, but I'm self-publishing, is that the type of thing that an independent bookstore might carry? Or how, like, do you... Obviously you connect with local people, local authors, I should say, but like, do they have publishers? And I guess, how does that relationship start?
Yeah. Great questions. And this isn't, so it runs the gamut. We have lots of local authors that are self-published that will bring us books, and then we sell them on consignment. So we might let them know when we run out, and we'll write them a check for what sold, and then they bring us some more. And Sean Fitzgibbon, he crowdfunded his graphic history of the Crescent Hotel on Kickstarter. And that's how he got the funding to publish his book and print it. And but we also have local authors that we order through our distributor, through our like we do our other books, and just stock them that way. So yes, we have lots of local authors, lots more than honestly than I was expecting when we first opened. That's become a much bigger part of our business than I initially thought it would, which I'm super happy about, because that's another way that we're getting connected to people in the community. Because those authors, if they know that their book is in the store, they're more likely to come in. They're more likely to tell their friends about it. And then that's just like a ripple effect of that many more people that know about Pearls and want to support what we're doing.
Right.
And so, that's another area where we just kind of started saying yes to authors. And it's been great to grow our local author section.
And that's a great way to do it too, on consignment, because there's not a lot of risk either way. And that way they can promote their book and send them to you, and it's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Consignment. And it's with everything. That's just one other area where we've been learning, maybe we can tweak things and do things a little bit differently. But I think that it has solidified that value that we want to be able to support local authors. And so that's just been one of the real benefits of saying yes. Blindly.
Saying yes and then figuring out the details.
Right.
We'll figure out how to make this work.
Right. Well, I like that. That's better than saying no and then being closed-minded.
Right.
Part of the reason I ask that is because we do interview many authors, and it feels like all the time. And it's not a bad thing. I don't mean that negatively. I mean, like, there are just a lot of people who are, we've interviewed opera singers turned authors, and Bolshoi dancers turned authors, and I love that people are diving into those dreams of theirs. But I'm wondering how they get that word out there, because I've never published my own book per se. Magazine, yes, book is different. And so I wondered how that worked. So very cool.
I think it's really hard, I will say, to it's a lot of legwork on the author's end, from the author's end. We promote as best we can, but I think it's just another layer of you put all this work and your soul into your book, and then now you still have to get the word out. And so that's hard to figure that out too, especially for those of us who are not super tech savvy and like don't know what to do with social media and all that.
Right.
So
well, and someone could be brilliant at writing, but they're not a marketer,
Right. Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's that art mind, business mind mix that's hard to come by.
Yeah.
So what are some challenges you've faced then that you've overcome and that maybe have even made you better?
Well, it's been almost a year now, but in February of last year, I was diagnosed with cancer. 4 months after we opened. So that was a big challenge and is continuing to be.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to sound flippant when I say that. It's just this bizarre turn of events that has led to what life is now. And I mean, that has been because when we opened, we planned for me and Daniel to be the primary workers.
Yeah.
We have 2 young kids, but we've had a whole schedule figured out. And then all of a sudden one day, not only are we dealing with this catastrophic life event, but also we're understaffed. So this baby of a business that we've been helping grow is all of a sudden needing a whole different level of support that we can't really give it. So at the time we had 3 part-time employees, and one of them.
So just 3?
It was just
we
3.
Didn't have 4 at that point. I think we had 4. So
it's yes, that's right. Samantha was seasonal and had stayed on. That's right. So 4 part-time people, and then 1. So anyway, one of our part-time people moved into a full-time position, and she has basically just kept the company afloat.
That's
so
awesome.
Everybody's shifted around. Yeah. And she is now our manager. And we have thankfully been busy enough that we've moved. We now have 3, aside from us, we have 3 full-time employees, and then another who's part-time. So we're well staffed, but of course it's just every day is so different. And I think that is something that I like about this job. I'm figuring out a new normal personally, but every day you kind of have to prioritize and triage essentially what really needs the attention that day, and how do we take care of the long list that never stops having things added to it. So I think, learning how to prioritize has been another pretty big challenge.
Yeah. And I'll say too, with the with your diagnosis and with us being we both just dropped everything and needed to be out of the store for a while. I would come in at night sometimes and do some payroll and stuff like that, but day-to-day operations we were out of the loop for a while, and that we would not, I don't think I would have put the faith and trust in our employees that early on if that wouldn't have happened. And so, but our company I think has become so much better and stronger because of the employee buy-in and the employee input. Not that we would have ruled with an iron fist or anything like that, but I just would have wanted to hold on to more decision making and stuff like that.
Yeah.
if that hadn't happened. So I think that's something that has, um, yeah, it's been a challenge. I mean, obviously it was, yeah, a challenge is an understatement for what that
Yeah.
is, but I think the fact that our staff have stepped up and right away, told us not to worry about anything at the store, and we believed them, and we're able to believe them, and that, I mean, yeah, that speaks volumes about the people that we hired, and how fortunate we are to have them.
And still now, I mean, we can leave for a couple of days because my diagnosis is it's I have stage 4 cancer, and so it's just a very we are taking time away from our jobs that we were not planning to take, but so that we can have vacations and make memories with our kids and stuff. And they're like all for us being able to do that. And so we're just really lucky. Really lucky. I mean, there are not words to express how we wouldn't have made it through the past year without them.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, for sure.
That is incredible. Thank you for sharing that with us. I appreciate that.
I mean, obviously it's not ideal. And every day is different, but it feels hokey to say, but at the same time it's true. If you just have to put into perspective what really is important to you, I'm really glad that this is what we're doing, and this is how I'm spending my days. So
yeah. Yeah. I love that your team stepped up and took ownership so that you can do what you need to do. And I imagine work-life balance is already challenging. You guys have had like every major stressor you can probably have in the last 3 years between a pandemic, which very few generations end up seeing.
Yeah.
Right.
To like what you said, a new baby, you starting a new business, both of you, and and like starting a retail store during a pandemic. Like you have, it's just one thing after another. And I think, as Sandra said, your path is very inspirational. And I love that you've gotten the support you've gotten and are able to do what you do in the community too. Like that's really, like she said, it's inspirational and awesome.
It's been, it's inspirational to us. I mean, the community has been.
Yeah.
I debated for a while whether or not I wanted to say anything or post anything, to social media. But I think ultimately it felt important to us to be a little more transparent about why Daniel and I weren't in the store as much for a while. And, I was really nervous, like on a personal level. I'm not on social media much. And ultimately the outpouring of love that I felt from what I ended up posting was really motivational for me, and was really just, there was so much love there that it did help me want to kind of get back on my feet and get back to being in the store and, do as much as I can. So
Yeah.
That's fun.
It was interesting to see the comments on that post and stuff, like people reaching out who we've only known as customers, but now feel like friends and feel invested in our lives and in your well-being. So that was really good to see. Like, yeah. Crazy.
I think that goes to show how what you've created is more than just a store.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that's true. And like I said, that was like the dream of like, yeah, maybe someday it'll feel bigger than it is, or bigger than just a bookstore. And yeah,
It
so
is. It is now.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool.
It
It's
is
crazy.
cool. That is, yeah. I mean, I love that outpouring of love from your customers and your community.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad you had the bravery to share that with your community, because I think that people want to help people. You know, you're not just a store. You're not just the people behind
Yeah.
the counter. You're humans, and people do care about other humans. And
Yeah.
I think that connection you've made has been important, and obviously really meaningful to them too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it's obviously this goes without saying, but we're not the only family who's gone through terrible things aside from the effects of the pandemic, and so I think there's this other layer of if it helps someone else know that really unfortunate, terrible things. This is a PG show, but the terrible things do happen. Um, there's some weird level of camaraderie with what I'm experiencing. So, yeah. So hopefully it's helpful in more ways than one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. Even just earlier today, I was thinking about our manager and how like just something little like posting or like emailing when there's a damaged book, like that's something that I always do. That's something that they always set aside for me to do when I'm coming next. But she just did it herself because she knows how to do it, and she just
She's
went
not
ahead
waiting
and did
around
it.
for you.
She's not waiting for me to do it. So yeah, like our staff, they're great. And so I was talking to a customer about this maybe like a month or two ago, and she was talking about how nice it is that we have several people on staff instead of just us running the store. And her perspective was, that's that many different perspectives on things, and that many more people that live here that have input on the store, direct input. And that makes it feel more like Fayetteville, and that makes it feel more like enmeshed in the community. And I hadn't thought about it that way.
That's a good point.
Like Leah said, when we were in the planning stages, we kind of thought, well, maybe there was at one point where we thought maybe just you and me could run it, like without any staff.
Yeah. Which
we quickly learned that
would
was
be
would not
be really hard. It's doable, I
Yeah.
think, for anyone who might be interested.
Sure.
It's hard. It would be hard.
Yeah. And so that was a good perspective to have too, that wasn't our intention when we thought about hiring people, but there's a great byproduct of having really great people working here. So
one of the things that we do that I really like is we have shelf talkers, which are essentially just, I mean, you've maybe seen them. It's not unique to our store, but a little blurb about a book, and it's with the book on the shelf, and it tells who the bookseller is that wrote the blurb, and then it gives the person who might be interested in purchasing it, the customer, an idea, a firsthand perspective of what that book is about.
Okay.
And so we have, at this point, more now, but we have customers who will come in and they'll specifically look for Dorinda's shelf talkers because they know that in the past they picked out Dorinda's books and they really liked those. Or Amanda's books or Haley's and or Jackie's. And so we're trying to so we have lots of them all over the store. And I think that that's one of the things that people really like and gravitate toward. But that's another way that it just, it gives us multiple perspectives. And we even have a few from customers as well, which we would love to have more from customers. But yeah, it's just a fun way to figure out who's my book soulmate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, good. Sandra said that she does that when she visits. She gets lost in them.
Yeah.
Right. It's like you have your own kind of book influencer team. Of yeah. Sandra said, words that I describe your store when talking with Emily were warm, inviting, cozy. When you walk in off the street, you are just enveloped in this feeling. Your staff is wonderful, helpful, and caring.
Wow, that's great.
We love to hear that.
And she did say that. Yeah.
Oh, cool. You can attest.
Yes. Nothing but good things to say about your store and how much you guys obviously care about your customers and the experience.
Yeah.
Well,
that's great.
It's definitely important to us. I used to work at a call center for an online retail store.
Okay.
So I got a lot of customer service, standards like drilled into me, but they've served me really well. So.
I like that you were able to experience that without having to maybe be in a store, but that doesn't mean people aren't still yelling at you, I guess.
Yeah, people when there's a phone in between people can be mad. Another call center survivor. Yes, I'm sure.
Nice.
I mean, good experience, right?
Right.
They say.
Right.
Yeah.
So what's one thing about starting your bookstore, or at least in the last year maybe, that you've experienced that has made, and you probably have already said it, but if so, that's fine. But what's one thing that really makes you go, yes, this is why we're doing this. This is why we do what we do.
I'm trying to think if there's a specific interaction that we've had, or I mean, hearing things like what Sandra is saying in the chat and what you are saying, Emily, is really great to hear and to see. I think that Instagram post and Facebook post that you posted about your diagnosis was a moment of, wow, this is really great to see that this many people care about pearls and then also care about us.
I think I'm thinking of a few different customers that come into the store weekly, and just the conversations that we have with them and the interactions, and they'll email a list of they're spending their whole paycheck to buy more books here, it feels like, regularly. And, we're obviously thrilled to just have friends that happen to shop at our store. And I think that for me is a big part of it. That's my, this is great. Because we talked about, one of the other things that Daniel and I had thought about doing instead of opening a bookstore when we retire, but is opening a bed and breakfast. I don't know why that was the thing, but that was something that we were interested in. And now I'm just so glad that this is how, this is what has ended up coming to fruition, because we can send people on their way at the end of the night, and then they'll come back and talk to us about whatever they read, so we get to have that longer term connection rather than just someone stopping in and then they're gone and into the mist and we never see them again. Right. So
something that happened just yesterday, we had an author in the store signing some of her books, and she's a friend of mine. I took a class with her and like several years ago. And she was in the store signing books, and she had several of her friends coming in, and the place was bustling. Like it was busy, and there was good vibes. Like everyone was happy and having a good time and talking about books and catching up. But there were a couple of people that Kay, the author, introduced me to, who are coming in for the first time. And I still think that that's awesome. Like as much as we feel like, oh, we're in the community, like we're a staple, we're a part of people's lives, like there's still a lot of people that don't know about us that are coming in for the first time and getting wowed or getting amazed or feeling like, wow, this place is great. I wish I didn't know it was here or whatever. Yeah. So I think those kinds of interactions are really encouraging to me. That, like, I don't know. One, there's still room to grow. Like from a business perspective, that's also just great to know. But then from the more romantic side of things, of like, we're still making first impressions on people. And still like making good first impressions on people, which is really great. And that's another reason to have authors come and do signings, because that's more, even more people that get to learn about us. And so I think that was really cool. Walking through the store yesterday and like struggling to get past people, having conversations and stuff. Like, we have a tight small space. We don't have a huge store, but so
it's a lot of fun when I don't know. I think as an adult, I'm more of an extrovert than I've ever been. Where I mean, growing up, I was very much an introvert, but now I'm more extroverted. And so it's really fun on a busy Saturday just to chat with all the people. I love checking out customers. It's so fun. And so I never get tired of it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not just working retail though.
Sure.
That's so much better and so much more than that.
Yeah. Yes.
Coming from someone who's worked retail.
It's not it's not your typical like going to the mall right before the holidays retail experience.
Right. Yeah. It's that community.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Mm-hmm. So I want to ask each one of you this. If you had one author that you could sit down and have lunch with, who would it be? And have you done it already?
Oh, no.
That would be cool.
Yeah. Let me think. Who would it be? I feel like I used to binge read authors, and I haven't done that as much lately. I've been trying to like read a variety of genres, and so I don't have like, even when someone asks me who my favorite author is, now I have to like really think about it. I don't know. I know who your author would be.
I know who you think that I'm going to say, but that's not who I'm going to say.
Oh, we should have done it like
yeah, what was that show?
I can't remember, but we should have done it where you answered for each other.
Daniel thinks that I would say Barbara Kingsolver.
No.
Oh.
I was going to say Sarah J. Maas.
Oh, no. I wouldn't. I mean, I love Sarah J. Maas, but there's probably enough. Like, I can read her interviews and get enough. Barbara Kingsolver, she's on my short list. But I would say I just read Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmis. And her little bio on the back cover seems very interesting. I would really like to chat with her because it's a really great, really interesting, fun read that touches on a lot of just patriarchy within our society. And she is probably who I would want to talk to because she has a background in medicine and a background in chemistry. Obviously, she is pretty knowledgeable with. So anyway, that's who I would say. Just because I just finished reading her book.
And tell me the name of the book and her name again one more time.
It's Lessons in Chemistry.
Okay.
By Bonnie Garmus.
Okay.
Garmus.
All right. Well, I don't know Bonnie personally, but Bonnie, if you're out there and if you're listening to this,
we can chat.
Bonnie, please
come have lunch with Leah.
Yeah, come to my store. It'd be awesome.
Yeah. I'm thinking. I think there's one that I read recently that actually one of our staff recommended to me. The book is called Unreasonable Hospitality by Will Guidaras.
Okay.
That's how you say his name. He is or was one of the owners and managers of 11 Madison Park in New York City, which is like, I think it was voted at one point the world's best restaurant. So first of all, the lunch would be really awesome.
Yeah.
And that would be great.
So can we meet?
So you're going
at your restaurant?
Yeah. Right. Yes, of course. But his management style and leadership style that he talks about in the book is really intriguing and really people-centered. And I feel like I would learn so much about how to be a better leader, a better manager, a better person. Like, yeah, his book is really, really good, and it's worth rereading. And I will keep reading it at least once a year because it's really good. Talking about how the main premise is do things for your customers and do things for your staff that are unreasonably hospitable. So like go above and beyond, but not just, to break your back and say like the customer's always right kind of thing, but like do things that are unexpected because that will help you enjoy your job more. It'll help you have more buy-in. But then it'll make a more lasting impression on the customer, the client, the whatever. So yeah, I feel like I would learn a lot, and then either have a really good meal or have a bad meal and learn about why it's bad. Like I would just love to pick his brain about food too, like on a side note from all the other stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell me again the name of the book and the
Unreasonable Hospitality.
Unreasonable Hospitality. Okay.
Unreasonable Hospitality, and it's
right.
by Will Guidara.
I'll figure that G-U.
Yeah, let me look. Guidara.
Okay.
Yeah, Guidara. But yeah.
Cool. All right. I like that.
Yeah.
Good answers. I mean,
Thanks.
there was no wrong answer, of course.
Sure.
Yeah, what would be the... Well, no, I could think of some wrong answers. We won't go there. So, yeah.
Have you,
yeah, that's a good question, though.
Yeah.
It's a fun one.
Questions like that. Do what?
Oh, no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, people ask questions like that, and I always just blank. I'm like, I don't know. What do I like?
Right.
Yeah. What's a book?
What's a book?
That's right. I know. And I forgot to say they don't, whether it's a past author, could be somebody that's no longer with us, or it could be a current, it's a
future
fantasy question anyway. So
true.
Could be
yeah,
anyone.
That's true.
The first Queen Elizabeth, something like that.
Yeah.
She probably didn't write a book, but you get what I'm saying.
Maybe some journals or something.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to read those.
Right.
I know.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Not this Prince Harry stuff.
Right.
We need the original.
Right. The things were written as they were happening. The raw,
Yes.
honest. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Have you found, or do you think this was kind of an afterthought I had, but do you think there's kind of a renaissance in the independent book store world, because I feel like, at least maybe it's just my perspective, but I feel like this is something that's coming back.
Yeah, for sure. Well, when we were planning to open our store, we joined a group called Bookseller Mentors on Facebook, and we were one of lots, dozens at least, of brand new people planning to open bookstores coming there for advice. And that's just one outlet, Facebook, But
it was like a cohort.
Yeah, it felt like that.
Which was
And we had
cool.
a couple of Zoom hangouts with other people that were planning to open stores, and like, man, have you thought about this yet? Or no, what about this? Or
what point of sale system are you using?
Yeah.
Where are you getting your shelves? IKEA shelves work great. Blah blah blah. It was just this whole thing.
Yeah.
That's really helpful.
It is,
It was so helpful.
Just little details that that are in the weeds, but I need someone else in the weeds with me to figure out what to keep and what not.
And what to think about that maybe you weren't, like, oh yeah, maybe we need bags to put books in when people buy them.
Yeah.
Like that.
Right. Do people want bags?
Bookmarks, little things. Yes. And then also, like Leah was saying, in our area, we can't even count how many there are, because there's still more that are opening. Like, we had a bookstore in Bentonville, Two Friends Books, that opened their brick and mortar. I think it was like June or July of 2020.
A year,
And so they opened, and then we opened in the fall of 2021, and there have been a couple more that have opened since we opened. There's another pop-up that just started. So, yeah.
And I think it is, again, back to having community again. That is something that is part of the Renaissance, and part of just, we want to be with other people who have interests similar to us. Everyone, I think, to a certain extent, who's so many people are thoughtfully reevaluating what's important to them. And so, books and holding a book, like, that is something that a lot of people really feel strongly about, is they want to be able to hold the book that they're reading and not have it on an e-reader, which I think e-readers are great too. I'm very pro reading. So, but
yeah. And I think along the lines of what you're saying, like, people are, craving community, craving connection, coming out of the pandemic or coming through the pandemic or whatever. And I also think there's, like, a good amount of emphasis on shopping local and shopping mindfully, and not just always going for, like, convenience or whatever. So I think that's a big part of it too, is shopping local, which is a big deal in Fayetteville. And I know that we're not alone. Lots of communities are emphasizing that. And, so yeah. And the type of service that you get at a local independent bookstore is different than what you get at a big box store. It's different than what you get from an algorithm or online or on your phone. So yeah, it makes sense why bookstores are important and why people are craving them even more. So we're lucky to be a part of it, for sure.
Yeah, I love it. I'm so glad you're a part of it too.
Yeah, me too.
You guys are amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
Amazing.
Appreciate that. Yeah, thank you for having us on.
Well, yeah, I'm so proud of what you've done and how you've taken that community torch and carried it and got to see results. And results is absolutely the wrong word, but you've gotten to see, I guess, I'm not a thesaurus.
Fruits of your labor.
Yeah, but you've gotten to experience that back. The community, like, you've been giving the community in the form of this amazing bookstore and the experience that you've created, and you've gotten some of that back in the form of being part of that community. And I love that you're getting to see that already.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Do you have Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say yes. It's like it really is a dream come true. As cheesy as that is.
No, it's not cheesy at all. I live for that. That is exactly what we need to hear.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you have any advice for anyone else who maybe is interested in starting their own bookstore in their own area?
Yeah, I mean, I think a big thing is to reach out to other independent bookstores. Even before, I think we got, like, maybe this is how we found out about the Facebook groups and about the American Booksellers Association, is by reaching out to independent bookstores that we already knew about and knew were doing well, or liked their online presence, like, you know, their mission statement, stuff like that. We would just reach out to them and say, hey, we're thinking about doing this. Can we set up a phone call? And we would have like hour-long conversations with these strangers who are investing a lot into what we were doing without even knowing us.
And people were, I mean, very generous with their time. We talked to someone in California. We talked to someone in Missouri. We talked to someone in, there was another one. So, I mean, we talked to people in just other parts of the country. Yeah, spent an hour of their time talking about things that were like way over our head, but trying to explain it to us so that we had like, some grasp. Yeah, I mean, like pages of notes. And so that's the thing. Feel free to reach out to us. Truly, we've had several. I say several. I mean, 4 or 5 anyway. People who are looking to start stores in other parts of Arkansas come in and talk to us and just chat with us. And so there's plenty of hard-earned knowledge to go around.
For sure.
And what is going to work for us doesn't work for other places. Like Two Friends has a great little cafe, and we could never have a cafe like they have. But it just really works for them, and it's so great, and we're really glad that works for them. You know, so all that to say, I think that is going to be a really good starting point. And then be willing, you know, if you do decide to go for it, be willing to adjust and know that it might not, whatever you decide to do, you may have to change gears a little bit. Yeah. Like that's, I think, with any business.
Yeah. There's some agility.
But neither of us have a business background. We were both academic advisors at the University of Arkansas, so we don't know what we're doing. We're just figuring it out as we go. So you don't have to know what you're doing. That's my other advice.
Yeah. You know what? I love that though, because it means you can learn it for yourself and dive in, and if you have the vision of creating something special, you can just create something special. Like you have. And I love that you made that happen with the experience that you had that wasn't a bookstore, you know. I think that's great.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that's something that I think would hold someone else back. At least that's what I hear a lot. It's, I could never, or this, you know, I don't have any, you know, I came from a different background. I couldn't dabble in that, or you obviously have proved that wrong.
I mean, another big resource for us that we haven't mentioned yet is it's called the Arkansas Small Business Technology Development Center. It's a very long acronym. ASBTDC. But there's those things are everywhere. Like small business startup, like Startup Junkie is another one that's in our area. But
check your local or doesn't necessarily have to be your local university, but like your state-funded institution will generally always have something like that that helps small businesses get started.
Yeah, they'd helped us do so much research on the front end of market research.
They did our website for free. They took
Yeah.
pictures for us for free.
Yeah.
So it's like huge resources that we just kind of stumbled upon in our town.
Yeah.
That is so valuable.
Yeah, for sure.
Very cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, very cool. Yeah, that's really valuable information. I'll have to remember that for some of our other guests and our audience as well. That's really cool.
It's a big deal.
Yeah. So, I guess
we need to say who Pearl was.
Oh yes. Tell us that.
Pearl was our dog.
Pearl was our dog.
Was our first baby. We got her like right after we graduated college and moved to Fayetteville, and she passed away in
2020,
fall of 2020,
Aww.
and then we started doing thinking about the store in January 2021. And from the get-go, it was like always going to be Pearl's books. We just knew it. So it was a good way to honor her. We love dogs. We have dogs come into the shop often, and we share their pictures on social media because, they're so much fun.
They're so much fun. We call them Pearl's Pals.
Pearl's Pals.
It's a post every Monday.
Yeah. Well, and those are pets of all kinds. So some cats have come in. We've had a couple bunnies, I think.
We've had some birds, some cockatoos.
Yeah.
Cool. We've had some bunnies. That's right. I forgot about them.
Yeah.
Bunnies are so cute. Anyway,
that's Pearl.
So that's who Pearl is.
Yeah.
What a great way to honor Pearl too.
Yeah.
She was such a sweetheart.
Oh, she was pretty grumpy.
She was pretty grumpy, that's true.
But she was sweet.
In her own way.
So yes.
And that love that you have for a pet is so pure, and what the love they have for you too.
That's right. Yeah.
So I'm thrilled to hear that you've honored her this way.
Yeah.
She would be proud.
I think so.
She would be happy about it.
She's like, I got a whole bookstore.
Exactly. Yeah.
To be grumpy in.
That's a right.
And we do have a picture of her at the front of our store, and she's mean-mugging the camera. So
that's right.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, it's so good having you guys on. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, man. Yeah, this was
great.
Great conversation. So thanks for having us and letting us be a part of this.
Yes, thank you. It's always I love hearing the stories, and you guys are so amazing. I love what you're doing, and it's interesting because I say this like every podcast. But this is every moment right about now in the podcast is when I have that moment that's, yes, this is why I do what I do.
Cool.
Oh, that's
awesome.
So cool. Yeah. Good.
So thank you.
Yeah.
You're bringing a lot of light to the world. So.
Yes. Thank you for what you do. Man, that's cool. I'm glad to hear that this is very fulfilling for you.
It is so fulfilling. I had no idea when we started this. We were like, oh, it'll be fun to interview people and like spread this. We want to get everybody's word out. These, because I believe the creative people in the world and people like you that are doing what you're doing, you guys are the heroes. To me, at least I feel that way, of humanity. And so I wanted to make sure that voice was out there. Aww. And I had no idea how much I was going to get out of that. No clue. So this is amazing.
Yeah. Okay. Art saves lives.
Art saves lives.
Yes.
It's true.
Yeah. So, let's see. I guess I don't really have many announcements, except we have some really awesome guests coming up in the next few weeks. So make sure you got... to our audience, please follow us and join us on future Mondays because we have quite a full schedule for the next couple months. Nice. Partially thanks to Sandra. So thank you very much, Sandra, for helping us out. And because it's our 1-year anniversary, I want to say thank you to everybody who's tuned in, our supporters, our subscribers, our moderators, our moderator Josh, who is Archer in the chat, and
cool.
also to our producer Sandra. So this episode, along with every other episode, is in memory of Joe Capone, our moderator, fellow comedian, critic, and our really good friend who passed in June last year. You can find us pretty much wherever you turn into podcasts. So for updates, announcements, and more, please follow us on social media under Modern Romantic. And thank you, everybody. Please have a wonderful night. And as Pearl's books would say, make sure you read, because reading makes you better.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right?
Thanks, Emily.
Thanks,
guys. Bye.
Bye.